The engagement was arranged between the Cooper family and the Wood family, not with you, Emily Wood. My adoptive mother slapped me hard across the face, and I snapped back to reality. I had been reborn. It was 1983, right on the day after my adoptive mother brought home her biological daughter, Sarah Wood. They were forcing me to give up my fiancé so Sarah could marry him instead. In my past life, I refused, but this time I said yes. In my previous life, I had clung tightly to the engagement. After all, Zachary Cooper and I had been neighbors for over a decade. The Cooper and Wood families arranged our engagement the year we were both born. Even after Sarah passed away, my adoptive father refused to call off the engagement. Zachary's father now held a powerful government position after all. And I had grown up beside Zachary, sharing countless childhood memories and affection, with all my hopes pinned on our future together. I had even applied to a university in the city where he was stationed as a soldier. But just yesterday, a girl showed up at our door holding only a jade pendant. My adoptive mother took one look at her and instantly declared she was her long-lost daughter, Sarah, who had been missing for 10 years. Back then, her 8-year-old daughter disappeared, and a body was soon found. Fearing my adoptive mother wouldn't be able to cope, my adoptive father secretly bought me from a distant relative. I was the same age as Sarah. For 10 years, I lived like a shadow. Out in the world, I was known as Emily Wood. But behind closed doors, my adoptive mother always treated me like a stand-in for Sarah. One moment, she'd hold me while crying, buying me new clothes and brushing my hair. The next, she'd dig her nails into my arm, cursing me for stealing Sarah's luck. My adoptive father always said she carried deep emotional scars, blaming herself for losing her daughter. But what had I done wrong? Thankfully, I had Zachary. He would bring me little treats from home and comfort me, telling me that everything would get better once we grew up, that one day I could come live with him. I longed for the college entrance exams, studied like my life depended on it, and finally got into a university in the same city where Zachary was stationed. But then Sarah came back. She claimed Zachary had always been the one she loved. I cried, screamed, refused to let go, and even considered going to bed with him just to secure the relationship. My adoptive mother, overwhelmed with guilt for the daughter she thought she lost, asked me to give up my university spot so Sarah could take it. I, as if grasping at a lifeline, agreed. I turned around and married Zachary, thinking I had finally secured happiness. But married life turned out to be nothing like I imagined. Zachary was away most of the time. I was left alone with his parents, who pressured me every day to bear a son. They accused me of being useless, as it was my fault. Meanwhile, Sarah, having taken my place at university, landed a stable government job. When I was about to give birth, she came to the hospital and said to me, "Emily, I'm having Zachary's child." My heart felt like it was encased in iron. I had planned to divorce him after I gave birth, but fate didn't give me the chance. I died on the operating table during childbirth. "Emily, are you really willing to give the engagement to Sarah?" My adoptive mother asked, her eyes lighting up with joy. "Yes," I replied. It was hers to begin with. Sarah curled her lips into a smug smile and leaned in. "Smart choice," I forced a smile. "I hope you get what you wish for." She scoffed. "You stole my place for 10 years. How do you plan to repay that?" I was speechless. Did she really think she was the real Sarah Wood? I turned and walked away. Even as I reached the door, I could still hear their laughter from inside. At dinner, Sarah suddenly said, "Emily, why don't you sleep in my room tonight?" Same trick as before. In my previous life, she said she wanted to sleep in her childhood bed to relive old memories, but she had hidden mice in the sheets. My adoptive mother even muttered, "Good thing it was Emily in there. What if it had scared Sarah?" I smiled politely. "No need. Mom worked hard to prepare your room. I couldn't possibly take it. We're sisters. No need to be so formal. What's mine is yours," she said warmly. My adoptive mother's eyes welled up. "Sarah, you're so considerate." Then she turned to me and said, "Emily, you can sleep in the living room tonight." "Okay, sure, as long as there are no mice." I didn't care where I slept as long as I didn't have to deal with Sarah. Seeing that she didn't press the issue, I figured she was probably planning something even worse. Once the whole house was asleep, I stuffed a pillow under my blanket to make it look like I was still there, then quietly climbed out the window. There were probably still mice in the house, so the farther I stayed away, the better. I went straight to the Cooper house. Zachary and I weren't married yet, so his mom still treated me kindly. "Emily, what brings you here so late?" Mrs. Cooper asked, surprised but warm. I lowered my gaze and fidgeted shyly with my sleeve. "I was just craving your homemade sauerkraut dumplings." "Why the sudden craving?" she asked, amused. "I don't know," I said softly, head down. "Ever since Zachary came home on leave last time, I've been obsessed with anything sour." Her eyes lit up instantly. "You too last time?" I blushed and nodded. I was going to marry him anyway. It was only a matter of time. She immediately grabbed my hand, her wrinkled face blooming with a smile. "Besides dumplings, what else do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. If I could have a cup of malted milk before bed, that'd be perfect." Earlier that day, I saw my adoptive mother and Sarah visiting the Coopers, and she'd brought them a tin of malted milk as a gift. "You wait right here," Mrs. Cooper said, already turning around to mix the drink. Then she disappeared into the kitchen to knead dough and roll out dumpling wrappers. I knew exactly how her mind worked. If she believed she was going to be a grandmother, she'd give me the world. After finishing the malted milk, I went straight to sleep in Zachary's room. When morning came, I opened my eyes and saw a plate of dumplings on the nightstand. I ate until I was full. Then, seeing that Mrs. Cooper hadn't woken up yet, I went to knock on her door. "Ma'am, I want to go to Zachary's unit and tell him the good news in person." She perked up immediately. "Of course you should, but I don't have much cash on hand, so you'll have to take the hard seats." "That's okay," I said. She gasped and sprang out of bed. "Absolutely not." She shoved 50 yuan into my hands. "You're pregnant. You shouldn't suffer like that. Buy yourself some sponge cake for the road." I pocketed the money and reminded her. "Please don't tell Zachary just yet. We haven't filed the paperwork." I know, she said with a grin. "But once you see him, tell him to submit that marriage application right away." Before I left, I grabbed 2 apples and had Mrs. Cooper pack me a box of dumplings to go. I left the apples and dumplings at the front door and re-entered my own house through the back. Inside, my adoptive mother was sobbing on the sofa. "What's wrong?" I asked quickly, approaching her. "Your mom was scared by a mouse this morning," my adoptive father said with a sigh. I immediately stepped back, hugging myself with a shiver. "A mouse? How could there be one in the house? It's been taken care of. It's gone," he said, waving his hand. "No big deal." "Good, that's good," I said, patting my chest with exaggerated relief. But inside I was sneering. This had to be one of Sarah's tricks. "Mom, Dad," I said, "since Sarah is back, I think it's best if I move out for a while." My adoptive mother, still wiping away tears, nodded. "That's probably for the best. Sarah can't truly relax while you're here." But my adoptive father frowned. "Where are you planning to go?" "I want to visit my brother. He hasn't written back in a while and I'm worried." I lied casually. My so-called brother, Michael, had been sent to the countryside for re-education. We never had a close relationship. He always believed I had stolen the love that should have been his. When he left 2 years ago, he pointed to my face and shouted, "You're the one who should be sent to the fields." Sarah chimed in cheerfully, "I'll write him a letter. We were so close when we were kids." My heart sank as I glanced at my adoptive father, but his face remained unreadable. I clearly remembered when I first arrived at this house and asked about Sarah. Michael had spat on the floor and said, "If I'd known they were bringing her back, I'd have drowned her in the chamber pot myself." But I buried those memories deep inside and kept a smile on my face. If I was going to visit my brother, I'd have to bring something. In previous years, we always brought food and money. The moment my adoptive father heard that, he said quickly, "I've already prepared something." He handed me a thick envelope, and just holding it made a chill crawl down my spine. I hadn't come home all night, and not a single person had asked where I was. Maybe they already knew but just didn't care. I took my ID and savings. As I carried my luggage downstairs, the 3 of them stared at me in shock. "So sudden?" my adoptive mother asked, narrowing her eyes. I smiled wistfully. It's almost the 2-year mark since my brother was sent to the countryside. I want to surprise him before the anniversary. Sarah curled her lips and scoffed. Even being sent to the countryside deserves a celebration now? It's just something between him and me, I said casually, shaking my bag a little. Besides, I want to be the first to tell him the good news that you're back. Suddenly, my adoptive father slapped his thigh. Wait, let me get you some food coupons. My adoptive mother gripped my hand tightly. Emily, don't blame me for being biased. Sarah suffered out there for 10 years. I understand, Mom, I said quietly. Of course I didn't. Just then Sarah walked in, then rushed back out again. Emily, where's your college acceptance letter? I put it away, I replied with a calm smile. I want to take it to show my brother. Maybe it'll encourage him to apply again next year. Inside I was laughing bitterly. Michael was a hopeless student. He even managed to copy my homework incorrectly. His final score when we graduated high school was 76. As a kid, he never wanted to lift a pen, always forcing me to do his homework for him. My birth parents were too poor to keep me. They sold me off. Where would they get the money to send me to school? I had to beg him. Let me go to school. I'll help with your homework forever. So Michael said nice things about me to our adoptive parents, and I finally got to study. I also spent years writing his homework. Too bad he always gave himself away in exams, and I had to come up with excuses. He fainted from test anxiety. Because of that, my adoptive father would always sigh and say standardized testing had ruined Michael's future. Then he added, "You make sure to talk some sense into your brother." I bowed my head and twisted the corner of my shirt. If he's willing, maybe he can take my college spot instead. Sarah immediately exploded. Absolutely not. He's a man. You're a woman. How's he supposed to take your place? I pretended to be disappointed. You're right. I can't take his place. But I can take hers, I added before anyone else could speak. My adoptive mother's eyes lit up. That university is in the same city as Zachary. I lowered my gaze and smiled faintly. Then let Sarah take it. After all, I've eaten your food, worn your clothes for 10 years. It's time I repaid you. Sarah eyed me suspiciously, as if trying to figure out whether I was serious. You really feel that way? Of course, I said with a bitter smile. My birth parents never fed me, only beat me. It wasn't until I came here that I understood what family means. That part wasn't true. My birth father never hit me, but he had without a doubt traded me for food coupons. My adoptive mother stared at me for a long moment. She had seen how hard I studied, how I burned through the nights with books. She didn't believe I'd give up on school so easily. Suddenly, I threw myself at her, clinging to her legs and sobbing. Mom, I've had feelings for my brother since he taught me my first word. I've studied so hard because I wanted to be worthy of him. The words hit the room like thunder. After all, she had raised me for 10 years as a stand-in for Sarah, and I had never been close to Michael. Only my adoptive father started rubbing his hands together, his eyes glinting strangely. Back when he bought me, hadn't he hoped to raise a child bride for his only son? In our little town, girls raised for that purpose, no dowry required, were nothing new. I wiped my tears and started inching toward the door. It's getting late. I need to catch the bus. My adoptive mother opened her mouth to say something, but my father cut her off. Fine. Go. Stay as long as you want. Don't worry about it, I said, lifting my suitcase. You stay home and keep Sarah company. Just as I reached the doorway, I heard Sarah inside mutter. She seriously lost her mind. Maybe I had. But first, I had to step off this rigged board before I could play my own game. I pulled out the apples and dumplings, grabbed my luggage, and headed straight for the train station. That little rural station didn't serve many lines, but I didn't care. I just needed to leave that house. Yesterday afternoon, I had already come to buy my ticket. I'd planned it all. Transfer at a hub station, then head to Shenzhen. The winds of reform and opening up were already blowing. I had to get ahead and start making money. In the waiting room, I sat down and pulled out my college acceptance letter. Slowly, I began to tear it into pieces. The address of the university was printed right there, bold and clear. If I went to register, the Wood family would surely track me down. Better to head to Shenzhen first, earn some money, and later apply to a better school. That's a college acceptance letter. You're just going to rip it up like that? The man sitting next to me stared, shocked. It's not a good school, I replied flatly, pushing the scraps into the trash can. I'm going to study for a better one, Tsinghua or Ping University. He let out a surprised laugh. That's ambitious. Don't call me a student. I waved him off. I've already had 3 kids and got married years ago. He leaned closer. Come on. We were in high school together for 3 years. When did you have time to give birth? I'd have noticed. You know me. I instinctively shifted away half a seat. Everyone knew Emily Wood, the prettiest girl in school, he said with a raised brow and a grin. I'm Michael Mang. You were in the class next to mine. I breathed a little easier. I was starting to think he was trying to kidnap me. I look like a human trafficker to you? He chuckled. Good-looking men are the best at lying. I muttered as I grabbed my bag and headed toward the ticket gate. Maybe we'll meet again, Michael. He shouted something behind me, but I didn't look back. Once I got on the train, I realized it was packed like a can of sardines. I shoved my luggage under the seat and sat by the window. Before long, the train started moving. That's when I heard his voice again. Emily Wood, fancy seeing you here. I turned and saw Michael lifting his backpack onto the overhead rack. This your seat? I asked, eyeing him skeptically. 9 out of 10 young men tried to strike up conversations, just because I had a pretty face. I swapped for it, he said honestly. Fine. At least it was someone familiar. I'd heard about thieves on trains. Having him nearby might ward off unwanted attention. I pulled out a book and pretended to read, but my eyelids grew heavy. Leaning against the window, I dozed off. Sometime after midnight, I woke up needing the bathroom and got a fright. I had slumped onto Michael's shoulder in my sleep, drooled a dark patch onto his sleeve, and now he was awake, watching me with a grin. Panicking, I wiped my mouth and bolted for the aisle. Only once I reached the restroom and saw myself in the mirror, did I realize my face was flushed red like a boiled shrimp. Must have been from the heat in the train car. Back at my seat, I dug out the dumplings. Michael suddenly asked, "Can I try one?" "Just one," I said, counting them before handing him one. After eating, he praised, "These are amazing. You made them." Zachary Cooper's mom made them, I replied deliberately, dropping Zachary's name. If this guy really knew me from school, he probably knew who Zachary was too. You going to the army base to see him? No, I'm going to meet my future, I said, staring out the window at the passing lights, the neon glow of Shenzhen. That was the real future I was chasing in this new life. He suddenly whispered, "Me too." I stuffed another dumpling in my mouth, pretending he was just making conversation to pass the time. After transferring trains twice, I finally boarded the green-skin train to Shenzhen. But to my surprise, Michael was still sitting beside me. Every time I asked, he just said he'd swap seats with someone. "Why do you keep following me?" I finally snapped. He blinked innocently. "It's just a coincidence, I swear." "I'm heading to Shenzhen too. Just happened to get on the same train," Michael said. "Yeah, right. Like there are really that many coincidences in the world." I stared at him silently, sounding the alarm in my head. "Just chasing my future," he said casually. "Same as you." I sneered inwardly. Trusting him would be like believing I was the first emperor of China. The dumplings were long gone. I clutched my growling stomach and tried to ignore it. Michael suddenly handed over a lunchbox. "Here, eat up. Consider it payback for the dumplings." It smelled incredible. Tender braised pork, rich and fragrant. I couldn't hold back anymore. Once I started eating, I cleaned the whole box. That old saying's true. Once you accept someone's food, you owe them a favor. We chatted a bit after that. Turns out he'd received an acceptance letter from the same college as mine, but he said his family couldn't afford it, so he wasn't going. I looked at his crisp new Dacron jacket and felt a flicker of doubt. But then again, what did that have to do with me? Misery loves company. I clapped him on the shoulder. "We'll both make big money in Shenzhen. Just you wait." He grinned and nodded, eyes sparkling like starlight. But when the train pulled into the station, I was completely overwhelmed. The skyscrapers, the blinding neon. It was dizzying. How was I supposed to find work in a place like this? Michael, on the other hand, looked right at home. Come on, I'll take you to the market first, he said. He led me to a clean little hotel and said we could stay on credit for now. No need to pay up front. I stopped dead in my tracks, eyeing him wearily. You're not trying to scam me, are you? I'll tell you right now, I'm not selling myself. He laughed, caught off guard. What do you think I am? What's going on in that head of yours? I'm young and pretty. You think I shouldn't be cautious? I grabbed my luggage and backed away. It's not that cold. I can sleep in a park if I have to. Can't trust people easily these days. I'd rather rely on myself. Michael trailed behind me. At first, I glared and tried to chase him off. But when he wouldn't take the hint, I just gave up and let him follow. A few steps later, I stopped at a street stall selling buns. I bought 2 meat-filled ones and raised my voice toward the woman behind the stove. Hey, are you hiring? She wiped the sweat from her brow and grinned. What can you do? I'm quick with my hands. I can wrap dumplings and buns. All right then. Come on back and give it a shot. I dropped my bags in a corner, rolled up my sleeves and washed my hands. Then I grabbed a lump of dough, rolled it smooth, flattened it out, and filled it with meat. With my thumb and forefinger moving fast, I crimped out 18 perfect pleats. The woman smiled. Nice hands you've got. Meals and lodging included. 10 yuan a month to start. If you do well, we'll raise it next month. Deal, I said just as I noticed Michael peeking through the window. The woman followed my gaze. That your husband? No, I said quickly. Just a friend. I ran outside in a hurry. Michael frowned and asked, You seriously planning to work here? Just need a place to land first. I dusted flour off my hands. Nothing wrong with starting small. He sighed. I'm staying at that hotel over there. If you need anything, come find me. Got it. Got it. Now go do your thing. I waved him off. The next day, Michael came by again. He didn't step inside. He just stood in front of the bun shop staring at me. Didn't say a word. Didn't even buy a bun. The boss lady kept squinting at me with a teasing smile, making me uncomfortable as hell. I finally snapped. Why are you just standing there? Go do something useful. He suddenly asked, You getting used to it here? It's fine. The boss lady's really nice. She sure is, he agreed with a smile. Then the woman chimed in, laughing. Your husband has golden hands. He's a bun machine. The moment she said that, Michael laughed and waved at her. I'll take 20 buns, just the meat ones he made. All of them are his, she said, already packing them up quickly. Michael grabbed the bag and walked off. And from that day on, he came by like clockwork, buying 20 buns every single day. Less than a week had passed, and I couldn't hold back anymore. After work, I went straight to the hotel where Michael Meng was staying. Luckily, he was squatting right outside the entrance. Michael Meng, what's your deal? Why are you buying buns every single day? He smiled. I like them. You can eat 20 buns a day? I snapped. I'm not eating them all myself, he explained calmly. There are 4 or 5 of us. We split them. I asked quickly, So you found a job. What kind of work is it? Can you take me along? The boss lady had been telling me lately that if the buns didn't sell out in the morning, she'd send me home by noon. I had plenty of free time now. Michael looked at me seriously. Emily, you can't just sell buns forever. I know that, I said. But what else can I do? Sell clothes. You're beautiful. Just stand in a store, and no matter what you wear, it'll look like you walked straight out of a fashion magazine. His words made my cheeks flush. But something inside me stirred with excitement. Then I'll go check it out right now. Wait for me. I'll take you. He grabbed my wrist and led me straight to a wholesale fashion mall. The racks of colorful clothes dazzled me. I felt like a country girl walking into a palace. Before I had time to take it all in, he pulled me into a women's clothing boutique. Monica, here's the helper I told you about. He called to the chic woman behind the counter. Nervous, I rubbed the flour-dusted hem of my shirt and introduced myself quietly. Hi, I'm Emily Wood. This girl's got a fresh, pretty look, Monica said as she gave me a quick once-over. Room and board included. 30 yuan a month. You good with that? Yes. Yes, of course. I nodded quickly, feeling like a little bird fluttering inside my chest. That afternoon, I started my new job at the boutique. The work wasn't easy, but at least I didn't have to wake up before dawn to wrap buns anymore. It felt like a breath of fresh air. After work, Michael was waiting outside the store. What are you doing here? I blinked in surprise. Helping you move, obviously. Oh right. I almost forgot. Monica said she'd cover lodging. I followed him to the back of the bun shop where I'd been staying, and we ran into the boss lady. I don't think I can keep working here, I said, feeling a little awkward. It's only been a week. No worries. Breakfast business is tough, she replied kindly, then handed me 5 yuan. Here's your pay for the last few days. Thank you. I picked up my luggage and headed for the door. Behind me, she suddenly called out, "Tell your husband to keep buying buns." Okay, will do, Michael answered cheerfully before I could stop him. I glared at him. You sure know how to take advantage. He just laughed. Can you blame me? I'd be happy to keep pretending if you'll let me. I didn't respond. I had more pressing things to worry about. He walked me to the same hotel as before. Why are we back here? I asked. They said the job came with lodging. This is your lodging, he said. But what about Monica? She has a family, lives at home, obviously. So, how much does a room here cost per month? I started to get nervous. They're not going to deduct it from my wages, right? Michael suddenly burst out laughing. Relax. You can stay here. The place is mine. My mind went blank for a second. What did you say? I said the hotel is mine. Not joking. My grandfather built it a couple of years ago. He passed it on to me. You've got a good grandpa, I muttered, still trying to process it. Then I asked, so Monica is your cousin? Why didn't you say that earlier? If I'd known, I would have come straight to her. Thinking back on those early mornings wrapping buns at 2 a.m., I didn't mind hard work, but getting up that early nearly broke me. Since then, I'd been settling in pretty well at Monica's boutique. Monica had a great eye. Every piece she picked for the store looked amazing. I often wore the newest styles out, and people on the street would stop me to ask where I'd bought them. 3 months later, Monica opened a second location, and asked me to manage it on my own. She even offered to split the profits 50-50ths. I knew she was doing it mostly because of Michael, and I felt a little guilty. Monica, you don't have to do that, I said. I'm happy just earning a salary. But she replied, splitting profits is fair. If you sell more, I earn more too. All right then, Monica. I promise I'll give it my all. I set up a small bed in the back of the new shop and moved in. I rolled up my sleeves and got right to work, full speed ahead. Michael kept telling me not to push myself so hard, but I was desperate. I needed to save up for a house fast. If I didn't buy soon, prices would rise faster than my income. What would be the point of being reborn if I still ended up empty-handed? Another 6 months passed. The new store was doing even better than the original one, and I had saved a decent amount of money. Michael asked me, "Aren't you planning to take the college entrance exam?" I am. I already registered. Bought the textbooks too. College is my dream. Selling clothes pays the bills. One doesn't stop the other. Then he pulled out a set of keys. Emily, I bought a place nearby. If you're willing to be with me, you can move in. I shook my head. Michael, wait until I've saved enough and gotten into college. Then we can talk about that. But instead of being disappointed, he actually looked happy. Really? Really? I said. Over the past few months, I had also learned more about him from Monica. He was a local in Shenzhen. His parents had worked back in my hometown years ago, which was why he'd gone to school there. His family had seized the opportunity during the early reform years and started a successful business. They were well off. Still, Michael came to see me almost every day, joined me for meals, always trying to make me laugh. People are made of flesh and blood, and for someone like me, starved of love, falling for him was as natural as drinking water. But I knew better. Marrying into a wealthy family wasn't easy. I needed to have my own footing in Shenzhen first. That way, I'd have real confidence. I worked hard for another 3 months and finally finished the college entrance exam. Even though I had to run the store during the day and only studied at night, I had taken this exact test in my previous life. I still remembered a lot of the questions, especially the essay topics and the big math problems. So I figured I did pretty well. I even gave Michael a few subtle tips. After the exam, he said he thought he'd done all right too. We were both feeling pretty good walking out of the exam hall when suddenly I saw Zachary Cooper standing by the gate. "Emily, I finally found you," he said, rushing forward to hug me. Michael immediately stepped in and blocked him. "Michael, you're here too?" Zachary recognized him. "I'm dating Emily," Michael said, slipping his arm around mine. "Emily, is that true?" Zachary asked. I nodded. "It's true. You're carrying my child and still dating him." Zachary shouted. I sighed. "Zachary, we held hands at most. There's no baby." But my mom said. "Then go talk to your mom," I said, not bothering to argue. "Didn't he know better?" "Why didn't you go to college? Why did you disappear?" he asked again. "Because I wanted to stay far away from the Wood family and the Cooper family." "Is that a good enough reason?" His voice turned hurt. "Did I treat you badly?" I scoffed. "You were good to me once, but who knew you'd turn out to be a total mama's boy? In my last life, after we got married, he never dared go against his mother. Whatever she said, he obeyed without question. All I ever heard was, 'My mom raised me all on her own.' You know, once you marry into our family, you have to listen to my mom." Anytime I felt wronged and tried to talk to him, Zachary would either stay silent or tell me to just endure it. But I was spineless back then, thinking if I gave him a son, things would get better. "Go home," I said. "If you really care about me, don't tell anyone you saw me." "You're really going to leave me?" Zachary grabbed my arm, asking. "We're not meant to be," I said. "Unless your mother disappears, I'll never step foot in your house again. Not even if it kills me." Zachary suddenly cursed. "You vicious woman." I couldn't be bothered to argue. I pulled Michael away and left. "You held hands with him." Michael suddenly turned to look at me. I murmured softly. He suddenly grabbed my hand, eyes shining. "Then I get to hold your hand too." I was about to nod with a smile when he shouted, "Grandpa!" An old man wearing a tank top and slippers came walking over, fanning himself casually. "So this is the girl you've been talking about?" I wasn't sure if I should respond, but Michael answered right away. "Yep. Isn't her name pretty? Emily Wood." Then he turned to me and said, "Emily, this is my grandpa." "Nice to meet you, sir," I said politely. I'd heard his family did business, but seeing how simply his grandpa dressed, I was still caught off guard for a second. "Come home for dinner. Your grandma's already cooked," Grandpa said, turning back the way he came. Michael held my hand and led me toward their home. The moment we stepped inside, his grandma came out to greet us. "So this is the girl?" "That's right." Grandpa chuckled. "Finally brought her home." Michael grinned and nodded. Grandma smacked her thigh. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? I didn't prepare anything nice." Watching how warm and relaxed they were, something in me melted. There wasn't a single trace of arrogance in this family. After dinner, the old couple slipped me a red envelope. I tried to refuse, but Grandma insisted, stuffing it into my hand. "Take it. Michael didn't go to college last year because of you. All I hope is that you'll be good to him." My nose stung. So he hadn't skipped college because of money. His family had been furious, so he moved into that little hotel just to be close to me. On the way back to the clothing store, I looked at him and said, "Michael, don't ever do something that foolish for me again. No one's worth that." He just smiled. "How is it not worth it? I only applied to that college because of you. If you weren't going, why would I go?" "You lied to me," I said. "You said you came to Shenzhen to chase your future." He looked down at me, his gaze searing. "You are my future." I threw my arms around him. "Thank you." Later, I found out he'd had a crush on me since high school. The day I went to the train station to buy my ticket, he happened to see me and bought one too, just to follow along. Maybe that was the true gift of being reborn. Waking up and finding the first person you saw would be the one who lit up the rest of your life. Just like the ending of every fairy tale, We got accepted into the same university. Then we got married and had a child. I didn't give up the clothing business. I became Monica's business partner, and together we opened several stores and hired lots of employees. For the past 2 years, I hadn't contacted the Wood family until I got a letter from Zachary. He said my adoptive father was seriously ill. After thinking it over, I decided to go back, mainly to take care of some paperwork regarding my household registration. Michael and I left our child with his grandparents and boarded the train home. When we arrived at the Wood residence, white mourning cloths were already hanging in the yard. In just 3 short years, my adoptive mother looked 10 years older. Michael Wood greeted me with only a faint, "You're back. What happened?" I whispered. Why did he pass away so suddenly? He let out a cold laugh. That woman wasn't even the real Sarah. She was your real sister. I had long suspected it. Back then, before I was taken away, my 13-year-old sister had volunteered to go with our adoptive father. But just 3 days later, our adoptive mother deemed her unfit. Sarah's adoptive father then brought me back instead. What I didn't expect was that after 10 years, the once chubby girl I remembered had turned skinny as a bean sprout. I tried probing, saying, "My biological parents abused me." But he instinctively pushed back against the idea. He said that back then they were just poor and my sister used to love catching mice to roast and eat them. These details had escaped me in my previous life, but now I saw them clearly. Still, I didn't call him out on it. The Wood family didn't care who played the shadow. Whether it was me or my sister, what difference did it make? So, where is she now? I asked casually. She's dead, Michael Wood replied. But before the words had even fully left his mouth, our adoptive mother suddenly lunged at me, screaming and cursing. "You wretched girl." Startled, I stumbled back. Michael Mang quickly stepped in front of me to shield me, and led me out of the house. As we walked through the yard, we ran into Zachary Cooper. He let out a long sigh and began to tell us what had happened these past 2 years. It turned out that after I left, the family thought I had gone to stay with Michael Wood. It wasn't until school was about to start, and they wrote him a letter that they realized I'd never gone. When Sarah failed to take over my college spot, she turned her attention to marrying Zachary. But the Cooper family refused no matter what. Eventually, Sarah ended up getting involved with our adoptive father. They were even caught in bed together by our adoptive mother. Then a few weeks ago, Sarah turned out to be pregnant. That completely pushed our adoptive mother over the edge. She grabbed a kitchen knife and attacked both our adoptive father and Sarah. But because she had a certified mental illness, she wasn't sentenced. Michael Mang pulled me out of that place quickly. As we left, I glanced back at the now dilapidated courtyard. Before I left that house all those years ago, I had written a letter to my sister telling her everything about what kind of family this was. But some roads we walk by choice, and those who walk too long in darkness will eventually seal their own fate.